Listen to the radio. Harry and Edna's Wireless Show. You heard it from the Three Bells.
I hate to tell you this, chaps. We've gone live, and you're telling us all about steampunk. Now you can blame. We can't blame the guests, but you've got your headphones on.
I know, but I just realised only when you started talking that we'd actually gone really quiet, that the music had disappeared. So, see, we're having a lovely chat with our guests in the studio.
We're meant to be talking about dust magnets.
Right, so shall we start again?
Yes.
The music's faded out, and then you say,
"What ho, Harry?"
And I say, "What ho, Edna?" And welcome to Harry and Edna on the Wireless, where we're all alone and have no guests in the studio. Do be honest.
No, of course we do. We have our lovely guests from Pushme Pullyu, and we'll talk about that in a little while.
You are here, aren't you?
You are.
Yes,
here.
we are. Yeah,
And this, of course, has ruined that wonderful entry when we had on vocals Mr. Woody Herman himself. Well, he introduced the track on that amazing V-disc from our good chum Jeff
in Charleston.
Because we tried to. Well, we on the previous programme. Literally, the disc had turned up through the post as we left the home to go into the studio, and we weren't able to play it. But we've managed to get it into a format we can play, and that was an original 78 V-disc, crackles and all.
It shows you how original it was then.
Yeah, it is. It is grand, and we must thank you, Mr. Jeff. You are a hero. In fact, you are the wind beneath my wings.
And I assume we're playing some more V-discs, are we, Harry, on future shows?
I think we've got one. We've got another one later on in the show.
Ooh,
from Jeff, another V-disc.
Brilliant.
But there were so many. You will be amazed at the sheer quantity that came.
They were very heavy, being sent all the way from America.
Yeah. And, of course, America, we have hundreds of listeners all over the world, honestly. Governor, we do.
And we have a quote to prove it, Harry.
Well, we have a quote from our Judy from St. Louis.
In Missouri. Do you want me to read it out to you?
Well, yes.
Oh, I'm only halfway through the show, but love it, in big capital letters. So enjoy you two and your interchanges and giggles and the music. Thank you so much, from Judy in St. Louis, Missouri. So thank you.
Well, we do thank you, although I should be turning off now and going, look, they're just yakking away when the music's playing, they're missing their cues. It's the first one of the show.
So as soon as you start the show, it all goes horribly wrong.
So we shall all go outside now and write lines 100 times saying we must not miss our cues.
What ho?
Yes, I've got writer's cramp.
Have you? Why? What from?
Well, did you not write your 100 lines saying I must not miss my cue?
I got chatting again. Harry was busy writing lines while I was chatting.
That's 200 lines.
Is it?
For you.
Oh dear. So I completely forgot we were meant to be writing lines. I was busy chatting to our guests, lining up some interesting questions.
What ho?
Yeah, see, I just can't leave you to pick a track, can I?
No, oh, what a shame! It's just jumping all over the place. Harry, what have you done to it? You've deliberately.
I have sabotaged the fighting trousers. If you can just chat amongst yourselves, I'll see if I can call it up on the wonders of technology for you.
Shall I introduce our guests to the show?
Well, if you do that, then
to that little bit.
Okay, and then we can see.
Type away in the background,
and then we can see if we can pull it up from there onwards. Okay.
Right, so we'll go over to our guests. So welcome to the show, Pushme Pullyu.
Hello, thank you.
So can you please explain to all our listeners what is behind Pushme Pullyu? Why are you named Pushme Pullyu?
The old and the new.
Yeah,
that's right. You know, we had various things that kind of went by the wayside. We got into antiques, but. The idea was to do pottery and clothing, and my mother was an artist, so that's what we were going to do. That's Pushme Pullyu. I don't know why it came up Pushme Pullyu, but it did. You know, it struck me as a bit bizarre at the time, and I thought people would take the mick out of it, but no, it stuck.
So it's kind of just because you're veering between the old and the new, and you just felt Pushme Pullyu sort of encompassed what you were doing.
Yeah, and nowadays lots of people have. Lots of businesses have lots of strange names, don't they?
Yeah.
But in 1970, Pushme Pullyu kind of stuck out. Anyway.
Because I was going to say that you were established in 1971, so you've been going a fair few years.
Just a few.
Yeah.
So what is it that you chaps do? What's sort of behind Pushme Pullyu?
collecting, what was it?
Dust magnets. We've got a sign up in our
weird.
shop.
Oh, yes.
If we haven't got it, you don't want it.
You don't need it.
Oh,
You don't need it? It's not interesting.
This is true, yeah.
So you've got a big eclectic mix of collectibles. Is that how you would sum it up?
Absolutely. We've collected the sublime and the ridiculous all our lives. The quirkier, the better, right? You know?
And we're going to go into that in a second.
Yeah, okay. But people need furniture, so we've done furniture. We've done everything but white goods. So, everything.
Yet.
So far.
So far.
So far.
So you set up in 1971, and was that when you started off the antiques and clothing, and so there was 4 different elements of what you did originally.
Yeah.
And so when you started in the 70s, was it a big thing in the 70s? People collecting, busy collecting?
No.
So you were quite new in a very niche market.
People weren't ready for, people wanted proper antiques.
Right, like 100-year-old
frame
Queen
picture
Anne furniture,
corner cupboards, and that people wanted proper. And when they came round to our shop, they. My grandmother had one of those. If we had £1 for every time.
Interesting junk. That's what they thought.
Oh, right. So they didn't quite see that the 40s stuff, 30s stuff was actually worth collecting.
No.
Oh, right.
No,
not at all.
We didn't mind actually because
we kept it.
We got all the flying ducks and the grandad shirts, so we were quite happy.
So you've got rows and rows of flying ducks.
We sold them now. We've got a few sets, the broken sets, where the wings have got cracks in them, that sort of thing.
Badly glued together.
No, he's good at fixing.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, very good.
So when you started in the 70s and people weren't really collecting what you felt at the time was collectibles, what sort of things were you collecting at the time?
Enamel signs.
I collected tins. I had a passion for little tins,
Well, like tobacco tins. Or
tobacco tins.
Tins.
People used to keep tins to keep screws and things in, and then they clear out the shed.
Yeah.
And yes, absolute diamonds they were. I was really, really crazy for them. Yeah, I had so many. If I only had them now. We've still got some. We've still got some. But
when you say some, does that mean hundreds or?
Well,
you put your head in your hands.
If you went round the house and went up into the attics, we find stuff that been missing for years, or that we don't even know that
exists.
That exists.
So as you kind of went through the 70s and then into the 80s, did people's idea of collecting change? I mean, were they then going, oh, actually, I do want Grandad's old tin collection, and that is interesting, and I want to start buying that.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
how did it sort of change? What were then people collecting in the 80s?
People, I think, were largely furnishing their house.
Yeah. Right.
And they had, say, stuff like Clarice Cliff.
Yeah.
All the obvious stuff, you know, and tins, obviously. A lot of people collected tins, so I sold my tins and all my... science. It's got to go. It's terrible. We have to eat.
Yeah.
We want to hang on to the things, but of course, you have to pay the bills, and we have children, so that enamel sign's got to go. So you can't get them anymore.
No, they're very expensive. Some of them are now
very,
ridiculous.
very,
price.
very rare now. And if you do see them, they're very badly damaged.
Yeah.
I've got a badly damaged one in our garage. If anybody wants it,
the odd farm sale
mustard.
might farmers tend to hang on to things, so the odd farm sale might.
Yeah.
But where have they all gone?
Yeah, well, hanging up in people's houses that were there in the 80s. So in the 80s, what were people decorating their house? What when they were buying this stuff or getting the stuff from yourselves, what were they trying to do with their houses? Were they just literally trying to recreate a house from the 40s or the 50s or the 60s or 70s?
I think mainly people wanted to... I think from the 50s, the houses were very austere.
Yeah.
So, the house was painted bright. People ripped out the old fireplaces, panelled up the doors and the staircases. And, of course, in the 80s, people wanted to put it back to Victorian times.
Right, okay.
So we sold fireplaces. And people wanted the Victorian look, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, lots of pine furniture, but I have to say, it wasn't stripped in those days, was it? It was all pine furniture painted to look like pine very often.
So, because I think of the 80s as a bit like Harry's flat when I met him, which was red and black with a bit of grey, because grey was very in, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was no red in my flat at all. There was no red. It was grey. Because grey was great, because it never been in fashion, so it would never go out of fashion.
I had a wardrobe that I painted grey. It was just grey undercoat, but it looked cool. But later on, we have to say, my mother bought it to me when I was about 12, and when I was about 14, 15, I painted it grey. You know? But then later on, we did strip it, didn't we?
Yes.
And then later on, we even sold it. I had it for so many years,
No.
And somebody being strangled on the back of it was at the foot of my bed, and I drew somebody being with their tongue hanging out. That's sort of like, it amuses me now, because I know the person who's bought it.
Yeah.
They didn't buy it off of me, they bought it, somebody else bought it, and then something, anyway. But it amuses me that this picture is still beyond the back.
Oh, really?
A felt tip, yes. I was in their house, and I was like, it's still there.
Yeah. But I was heartbroken one day when someone said to me, "Oh, we painted this wardrobe for my daughter's bedroom," and she said, "Oh, it had one of them funny marks on, those CC4 ones." I thought, you just painted a utility wardrobe, because it was obviously quite fashionable. Desecrated this piece of lovely furniture. But
now that's what they're doing again.
Everybody's painting it with the vintage stuff. We know nothing about vintage stuff, because it's all anyway. But it's all painted.
And people are trying to do this distress.
In another 40 years, they'll all be stripping it
down.
Well, another 10 years, I reckon.
Yeah. So then in the 90s, as we moved into the 90s, how did collecting change then? Were people then collecting 80s or 70s? Has anyone ever collected 80s? Because that was an awful period.
No.
Black ash.
Black ash galore. They're all broken, probably, because it was rubbish. NDF stuff.
No, people collected 70s.
Yeah.
I think if it's iconic, and it looks right, you can collect it. I mean, if you when people collect 50s, because I was around in the 50s, really 50s was pretty drab.
Yeah.
But if you collect 50s, it's kind of a bit make believe. It is 50s, but you wouldn't have that much 50s in one room, would you?
No,
you wouldn't have the flying duck and the sunburst clock. Anyway, you asked me about the 80s. No, you asked me about the 90s, didn't you?
When you said they were collecting the 50s and the 90s, that's where we got on.
Yeah, we've got a huge collection of 50s range.
I've got a bad taste room.
Have you?
Yeah.
I bet that's a talking point, isn't it?
It is. People got, I've got 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, I've got the Green Ladies, the Trechnikov Green Ladies, Starburst clocks.
And the fish.
And Billy the Fish, even. Do you know what I know?
The singing fish.
I know. My granddaughter loves him, because we go in Chester dance to
little
Billy the
boogie to
Fish.
Billy the Fish. I thought all those were burnt years ago.
Yeah, I know, but I think you've got to collect that. It's an antique of the future.
That's right. See, in 20 years' time, that'd be worth a lot of money.
It will. There'll be hundreds of them, like those pigs from the bank.
But they became real collectors.
I see about those in the paper. I've got the complete set. And everybody's got the baby one, but have they got
the dad?
What's his name? Nathan or something.
Was that the dad or the son?
Yeah, the dad.
The dad. Yeah, nobody. Because you've got to keep the money in the post office, in the bank account for 2 years or something before you get that.
Something.
So so there's not many of those about.
Oh right.
But my daughter's got the complete set.
Is that because you helped her by going to all these auctions? Yeah. Well, we'll come back, because we've got loads more interesting stuff. Because I want to hear some of your quirky and interesting items that you've got. But we'll come back to you chaps in a few minutes. Have you fixed Harry?
Well, I've managed to get. I got the cloth out and the distilled water, and I've given the 78 a wipe.
Okay.
So this may work, or we may just have to give up and then go into something more traditional, sort of a bit of Freddie Martin or something. But we'll give it a go. This will either work or it'll fail. I've round it up, and I'm about to release the spring.
What ho?
You've done it again. You've missed your cue.
Well, I've got my headphones all in a tangle.
And you've put your headphone by the microphone, and we had a lovely little bit of echo.
But I think you're just...
Called Jeffrey, because I have a man called Jeffrey who does things for me.
I'm not sure how he's going to take to that when you get back.
Well, if he could look where the freezer came out, there's a shelf there I'd like him to put up before I get back.
And you've got a broken train controller that needs looking at.
Oh, yes,
too.
and the train controller next to the fridge.
Yeah, is also for you to look at,
that's for
Jeffrey.
you to fix, please. Thank you.
And we did mention you live on air.
Yes. We were, actually, one of the reasons we missed a cue was that we were talking about the joys of finding things
in
abandoned,
skips.
in skips, and also about how we once upon a time found an air raid shelter
In a lay-by.
But we're on our way to a funeral.
And we didn't think it'd be right to be really late for the funeral and have an Anderson shelter sticking out the back of the car.
And asking some of the mourners we were taking, but budge up a bit.
Yeah.
And just don't cut yourself on that bit of metal.
Yeah, and can you help us lift it into the back of the car in your lovely black suits and things? But it was very
so we had to
painful
abandon
drive
it.
by
We had to
wasn't
abandon it, and it had the ends, and it's the ends we're missing.
Anyhow, but we'll come on to that whole conversation in a little bit. Are we going to talk about that now? Shall we
We're going to win the Sony Music Award with this one,
you
aren't we?
just sat back then. I didn't know whether you were going to another track.
I can do, if you wish.
Or you could listen to us again.
Oh, go on then. You tell us, how would I listen to you again?
Well, you just go to Harry and Edna on the wireless, which is www.harryandedna.co.uk. Click on the tab that says wireless, and then you can hear all our lovely, lovely shows that we've got.
Yeah, we have the if you go to the website, on the left-hand side there's a graphic, and each programme has its own graphic, unique to it, so you just click on that picture, and then you'll hear that show. Or there is somewhere it says listen again, and you can hear all the previous, 487
million shows that we've done.
So if you've got a spare couple of weeks,
you just want to listen to back 24/7 Harry and Edna. I think we
can
drum up a week now, can't we? 24/7 listening.
You can do, and then you can email us or Facebook us or Twitter us and say, do you know you did one show without a single mistake, and that can be entered for your Sony Music Award.
Yeah, there's probably one where I wasn't here. I think I'd distract you slightly.
Right. Are we playing a track, or did you want to talk about skip diving?
About skip diving, because we were just having a really interesting conversation before we came back on air. And that's how Harry and I got to...
we should probably mention, actually, just to skip diving, although I'm sure our English chums will know. I'm not sure if our people across the...
They're called dumpsters.
Oh, is it dumpster diving?
Yeah, dumpster diving.
Well, we were talking about how... I asked the question... how do you find all the interesting stuff that you collect? And we kind of got on to... Well, we said skip diving, but
tips.
Tips.
Yeah. Tips have been the greatest source of... It's been let me tell you, let me give you an example of about 4 years ago, before the tips were shut to the public, we were going to Wellingborough to pick up some money from an auction house. Mm-hmm. And the car we were halfway there, and the car kind of went. Our car was so used to going to what's it called?
Wollaston Tip.
The Wollaston Tip.
Yeah.
That we ended up then. It was a grey, drizzly day, and we went round, and the heyday of tips have long over, and it's all television stands and boring stuff. But anyway, there was a little ukulele.
Yeah.
And the strings had been fully wound up in the attic, and then the heater pulled the bridge off, and it was wet, and it had
inlaid.
It had a split in it, and I thought, and Elaine said, "Oh, look at that," And I thought, "Oh, another thing to fix." And Elaine said, "Oh, just buy it, for God's sake!" And it was £1.
Yeah.
And we took it home,
and with the case.
And with a case, but the case was made of cardboard, so it was just one soggy bit of cardboard. But anyway, the case got fixed, and we hung the ukulele on the wall, and I kept looking at it to try out, and we got it fixed with a well-known shop in Newport, folk music shop, and they fixed it. I now have learnt to play a ukulele, and I sing 1920s, 1930s songs.
Cool.
I get the old sheet music with the chord boxes in it, and it's beautiful. It's really old. It's got friction pegs tuning. It's really old. So I've saved that thing from being for eternal doom.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's had a life before and it has a life now. It has a voice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that we find about the junk that we have of restoring something.
Yeah.
You know.
So you were saying in the 80s that it was okay, wasn't it, to go and search rubbish tips and pick up and just take away whatever you wanted to.
The people that ran the tips, they had the rights to salvage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would earn a living by selling stuff to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course they have the obvious pine, you know, they throw me up, Peter, I've got some nice chest of drawers here, and I'd go in the car and buy the chest of drawers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd see, you know, and I'd be doing the deal, and round the back there's a nice old Victorian coal stove, you know, but it's got a hole in it, it's been burnt out, but you know, I can restore it.
You can fix and restore it.
Yeah, well, I know somebody who's got an iron mangle, you just turn around, you know, anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm doing the deal, and and I give him a little bit more than what he wants for the chest of drawers, and I say, how much for that? So I get the fireplace for nearly next to nothing, you see.
Wow.
So, you know,
So it's always a deal to be. But you were saying now you can't do that, can you? You can't go and buy all this stuff.
No.
Which is such a shame in a way, because it was
recycling. It was recycling.
And there's some fantastic stuff, isn't there, to be found?
It was
as
unbelievable.
we were talking about. And in people's skips, things they throw away is unbelievable.
Things that have been loved and become not wanted anymore. Yeah.
Or it's a bit broken.
Yeah.
But we can fix it.
Yeah, and I think that's the mentality now, isn't it? If it's broken, just chuck it away.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just either non-repairable, as in it's been designed to not be repaired, or it's just cheaper.
I can't bear it.
No.
I really can't bear it. I can't bear, you know, sometimes I see children's toys like a tiny, tiny, tiny little teddy bear at the tip, next to one of those big, because it goes into skips at the tip.
Yeah.
And it's missed the skip and it's on the floor. You think, it's been knitted. Some granny's lovingly knitted this tie. It's about the size of a peanut, you know.
Yeah.
And we've got it at home, I know.
So your shop must be absolutely heaving under the amount of stuff that you've got there.
Yes,
is that right?
yes.
Am I under the right impression that it's absolutely filled to the gills?
It is. You know, we're making room at the moment for a big what they call a big linen press,
right?
And that's a big piece of furniture, and we already have one.
Yeah, right.
So I'm making room, and I'm sort of.
So why do you need two? Just
because it's to sell,
right,
but it's not a good time to sell at the moment.
But I know once it's in the house,
it won't come back out.
No.
Well, it's good storage. One of the problems is storing the stuff so it doesn't get damaged. Now, you can put clothes in the thing, you know, etc. So it's good storage. Anyway, so I'm clearing
for more stuff.
I'm clearing space, and we have several plan chests. And I opened the drawer of the plan chest in the back cottage, which you can hardly. And I'm looking. I think, my God, we've got a load of stuff. You know,
stuff.
We've got loads and loads and loads of stuff. We've got things in boxes.
So when you say you're clearing, are you just stacking stuff up a bit higher?
Yeah,
clearing.
We've got tables on tables and chaiselongs on the table, and then it's not really chaise-longue, it's a kind of ottoman, isn't it? I suppose it's got a rest at one end, but you can lift the lid up.
Right.
And we've got.
But it needs upholstery.
We've got blankets in there. We've got. Runners for the stairs in there, and we've got.
So it must be just so fascinating coming round. Do you get people coming in and just reminiscing for hours on end at all the stuff that you've got?
Yeah, they always want a guide. We give them a guided tour.
Gives them a guided tour.
We're always horrified about the mess. Our house is very messy, but you think, people won't see that anyway. You know,
also
it's lived in.
The room that's the shop is too small.
Yeah. So you have overflow.
Well, we have two houses. The shops, really, we live in three houses. Yeah. The two houses been knocked together. Yeah. And then there's a much older cottage at the back.
Yeah.
Which we use as storage. And then there's a new bit built in between the wars, wasn't it? 1948. And they redid the staircase and built an indoor toilet and everything, and so it's sort of
quite modern.
Yeah.
So we have
indoors.
We have three attics.
Yes.
We have a proper attic. We have a downstairs attic.
Right.
Don't ask, but
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to visualise this.
and then in the back bit of the cottage we have another attic. You see,
So you've got because
it's a kind of a U-shaped thing.
Yeah,
you know?
and because you started this in the 70s, you've then got successive generations of stuff.
Yeah.
That we couldn't
amassed.
sell or
Yeah.
whatever. It's a bit damaged. We'll get it fixed up
Yeah,
or you know,
Is
whatever.
this
you
a
know.
never-ending list of stuff to fix as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at fixing stuff. I do fix stuff. It does happen. Yeah.
So have you got? Do you suffer terribly with that's for the shop and then it never quite makes it into the shop? You just end up keeping it.
Might do.
Yeah,
We do, but eventually it gets sold.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
'cause you've
eventually.
got to make room for more stuff.
Except Elaine can turn nasty sometimes. Said that's not being sold. You know, they're
Right.
not having that.
Oh, right.
We've been in the shop and a customer said, "I'll give you so much for it," and Elaine said, "No, you won't." You know, and no uncertain terms. I'm not selling it, sort of thing.
So it gets removed from the shop
Yeah.
into the collection,
It
right?
goes
right.
back, but eventually things get sold.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, it's fascinating stuff, and we're going to come back and talk about all your quirky stuff because that was quite a giggle when we were talking about that earlier. Some interesting bits and bobs.
Yeah, so I've got another one of these victory discs.
Okay.
I'm hoping this will work. It's, but I figured, as this show's not going for the award anyway,
Yeah. It doesn't.
it doesn't matter. We can just give this one a go. This one's Pearls on Velvet by Victor Young and his orchestra, and then there's a bit of a gap, and then he goes into another track. Because there's 2 songs on each side of these 78s, so I've got to be jolly quick on the microphones so that we can dive in between. And with our record of hitting our cues so far, I don't think that should be a problem at all, do you?
Because these guys are so interesting. I keep getting lost in worlds of skip diving and things like that. So.
Okay.
What ho?
But some people have dived into this thing called the 21st century. And I have a few little mentions, if I may do, just to prove we're live. Of course, if you're listening to this on a rerun, we're not live.
Not.
But if you are... Sorry, the bits of Telegraph just coming across. So it's Mr. Ben Morton.
Hello.
Hello, Ben, who says he's very much enjoying, looking forward to coming to December's Headness.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent. And the fact that we're missing our cues has not put him off one bit.
Hey.
He's very much enjoying himself.
Okay.
And then we have our good friend Pipperoo from New York.
What ho?
What ho? Who's probably terribly confused about what a skip diving is.
Yeah, so we should think of what they might call it in America.
Dumpster diving.
Dumpster diving, that's what we said,
Yes.
wasn't it?
And then our friends, the Free Bells,
Hurrah! Hello, bells.
who actually do our
Jingle.
at the beginning. And they're with a chap called Christopher Wright, who is apparently they're all going to be in Sevenoaks on Friday and would like us to mention they're in Sevenoaks. I'm assuming that means they're gigging somewhere.
But they didn't say where.
But they haven't said that.
Oh, girls, tweet back and tell us where in Sevenoaks in Kent you are, because we don't want people driving around looking for you.
And there's Duncan Bourne and and Ben again. And Ben again. So that's what's going on. But of course, you can hear us again by going to harryandedna.co.uk, click on the tab that says wireless, and you'll hear the backlog of programmes we have there. Plus the times we go, because we broadcast on, we're syndicated to some other stations, and you'll be able to hear all the times when we're on. Just click on whatever time it is, and somewhere in the world there's a Harry and Edna
Playing.
just for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we haven't played much tunes, and we do want to go back to our Pushme Pullyu friends, because we have not explored what's in the bad taste room yet.
No.
What ho?
Do you know? I think that's ended. It says it's got another 5 seconds to go.
But it's 5 seconds of silence, isn't
But
it?
I think they've got bored. I think they got bored and decided they
off.
just wandered off halfway through the song.
So you wondered what Hut Sut was? So that's another question for you.
It's in a place in Sweden by a stream.
Oh, okay. You
So
sure?
crystal and clear.
Right, and then we weren't listening after that, so maybe you went on to explain further what that was.
There is interest, by the way, in the bad taste room, according
is
to the
there?
Twitter Telegraph.
But we got to ask you guys, because we were just talking again about some of your quirky and interesting items that you've collected over the years. And again, that must have changed, has it, since the 70s?
Yes.
Things sort of pop up.
Yes.
Yes.
And you were talking about having skeletons, complete skeletons.
Yeah, we bought 2 skeletons, I think, from an auction.
Yeah, one was incomplete though, wasn't it?
One was in bits.
One was in bits. One
And
was
you had
one was a
do-it-yourself.
teacher's thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so they only had half the skeleton,
And
in other
the
words,
skull.
and the skull.
Yeah. And the other one was in...
It was a box of
2
bones that you had to put together.
Yeah, a box of bones. Yeah,
Really?
It was a do-it-yourself job.
yeah.
So did you manage to put it all together, or did you find
No,
it was like a
no,
puzzle,
no, I just-
where you
I
found
really-
you
I
were
liked
missing
them-
a
I
bit,
liked them as they were.
like the
I mean,
hips?
There were a few people that felt uncomfortable
Yeah.
with them, didn't they?
Yeah.
So-
But then I think one of our friends, we also have a couple of mannequins, and one of our friends wouldn't, that was in the guest room.
Oh right.
And
oh,
then he wouldn't go
yeah.
to sleep with the mannequin. He can't handle that mannequin staring at me. And it was a beautiful lady mannequin as well.
Just staring at him lying in bed.
Daphne.
Daphne.
Daphne, yes. We won't say. Yeah, I know. We won't say the name because anyway, Daphne. Yeah.
So what other interesting things? Because you've been telling us about some funny ones, like the invalid's chair.
Yes,
funny.
the invalid chair. I got that at auction, and it was massive. It had a big cast iron gearbox on it.
Yeah.
It had 3 wheels. It wasn't like a modern invalid chair.
No,
It was sort of like
talking
a
Victorian
tricycle.
one, are
Yeah.
we? Yeah.
It's a bit, and it was huge, Anyway, to sort of steer it round, you'd end up with
Big
big
muscles.
Popeye
muscles.
arms.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I used to, think, well, I've got this thing. Why can't I use it? I once even went down to Olney on it, and it was all right going to Olney, but
Yeah, 'cause
coming
it's
back, it's
downhill.
all uphill.
Yeah.
it was hard work. I
Did you
would-
get some speed up going down that hill? 'Cause
No,
it's a
not
very
really,
nice hill, isn't
no.
it?
No, it didn't
All
have
right.
a brake on it.
Oh, it did,
one of those
right.
little-
Yeah.
one of those handbrakes.
Yeah.
They're not built for speed. No,
No.
I mean I would have kept it, but it did take up a lot of room, didn't it?
Oh, so
Yeah,
you managed to sell that?
We sold it. Somebody bought it for a birthday present.
And we had to...
And we had to deliver it. And the guy, it was a young guy, and he lived on a farm,
Yeah.
and he had a barn full of sit-up and beg bikes.
Oh, wow.
Now we've got sit-up and
Yeah.
beg bikes. We
Yeah.
used to have
We've got those
loads
as well.
Yeah.
with our children on the back. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the sort of people we were. We got from wherever, and in those days. Only the very poor had bikes.
Right,
They're very
okay.
popular now,
Yeah,
but back in
yeah.
the 70s,
Yeah.
just the very poor. The rest either walked to Olney or went by bus, but
Yeah.
the likes of us.
But then we
Cycled.
delivered this to this farm,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy opened the door, and we stuck a
Oh, yeah.
very big bow
On the front.
on the
yeah.
front because we couldn't wrap
Yeah,
it.
no.
Yeah.
It was for a birthday
Yeah.
present.
And he was a bit embarrassed about it, wasn't he? He said, "Are you sure you want to sell this?" And he was really funny. So he loved it, but
Yeah,
he couldn't.
It's
He
quite a
couldn't
quirky
believe
present.
that. He couldn't believe that we wanted to part
But
with
I've never
it.
seen
Right.
such a barn.
Yeah.
Double,
Full of stuff.
huge barn,
Yeah.
full of anything on 2 wheels,
Yeah.
basically. Or
Wow.
3 wheels,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
in this case.
Yeah. Wow. And you were talking about the Einsteins.
Yes.
How would you describe that?
It's kind of.
Like a sculpture.
It was a bit like a sculpture, but you could wear it.
Yeah.
It was metal. It kind of
Sat on your shoulders.
yeah. It was more Frankenstein rather than Einstein.
But it clipped to your head, did it?
Yeah, it kind of
You
sat
could
on your
just-
shoulders,
yeah.
but the top bit went round your
Yeah.
head, and it had a big lens on the front.
Yeah.
And
You said it had something etched into it. That was
yeah, it had-
Einstein's
had
theory.
Einstein's theory of relativity etched in it, whatever it is,
MC
squared.
MC squared.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, And it weirded me out.
Yeah.
So I liked it, but at the
Yeah.
same time, we
Yeah.
kept it quite a while, and I thought, no, I can't live with it.
Yeah, it's just too odd.
It was, yeah.
But somebody
wasn't
bought
so
it,
much-
though.
It wasn't so much that it was odd, it was something weird about it. And somebody bought it, somebody and only bought it. And it's all right, honestly.
Yeah. But that was...
Yeah.
So what other quirky, weird, or kind of just really off-the-wall items?
I don't know.
Because you were talking about the tiger skin, weren't you? Which
Oh,
was
yes.
because we were saying that now today fur and things like that are frowned upon. But
it was
obviously if it's-
controversial.
yeah.
So it was because it was a dead animal, I suppose.
But it's a full tiger skin that you
Yes.
put on your wall.
Yeah.
It was the
Or
type
on
you
the
see
floor.
in films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laying
Yeah.
we
Across
laid
a
it
huge
across
floor.
a a settee that we had in the shop at the time.
Yeah.
It looked really impressive.
Yeah.
did.
Did it have the head on as well?
Yeah,
the full tiger head with
the
the
head
horse.
of the
horse was
lined.
Oh wow!
But the actual skin was, it was sort of like
Like a carpet.
Oh wow!
yeah, you could have it on the floor. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember somebody had a bear skin thing with the bear, the head. Yeah, it was the kind of thing you see in black and white films, something like that.
In
And
a
I thought,
very posh room.
okay,
Yes,
but I mean,
that's
I
true.
thought the animal's been shot a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
Because there's this sort of thinking now, isn't there? If it's vintage fare, then obviously it's nothing we've done now.
No.
It's something that was done a long
I know,
time ago.
but we're kind of in a way, people who are up on this say you're perpetuating it, although the animal's been shot a long time. That's the kind of vibe we were getting. So one or two people came up to us in the shop and said, "Well, you should be selling this, you know." And we thought, well, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
but you know, then you look over the counter and you see they've got leather shoes on.
Yeah.
So So you know,
So how do we, if we want to come to your quirky and interesting place, how do we come and look at some of the items? Because you love giving guided tours round.
we do. Well, we do like people to come round, and they just have to ring the doorbell, and
if you
we
ring?
let them in. They can have a coffee and have a guided tour around the house. So
And you're in Emberton, which is near Olney in Buckinghamshire.
opposite the clock tower in Edmonton.
Opposite the
Can't
clock tower.
miss it.
You
It's
can't
dead
miss it.
centre Emberton, isn't
yeah,
it?
Yeah.
So if you're knock on the door, ring the doorbell, and you're
Yeah.
more
And
than
if I'm
welcome
in,
to have a wander round,
No problem.
have a peek.
Bring a packet of biscuits.
Okay. What sort? Chocolatey?
Yeah.
You want a winner then?
And I hate to tell you this, chaps, but it is literally going to have to be time for us to...
Oh no!
To go.
To wrap up.
It is.
We'll play out with the track, but I guess
Oh, we
it's
will
time
do.
for us to say goodbye. So
Yes,
it's Toodle Pip from me.
Tinkety tonk from me.
And goodbye from us.
Yeah. And goodbye from her.
Listen to the radio. Harry and Edna's Wireless Show. You heard it from the